Hello, everybody. Today, I'd like to share my thoughts on Connor Murphy, his whole character, his shtick, his message, and the entanglements. Because it's not just Connor Murphy. If you get into this intellectual field, because he speaks a lot of actualized.org, and so do I, and I've actually tried to reach out to Connor Murphy a few times because I'd love to get him on the podcast because I resonate very strongly, and I have done since day one for the most part. So let's just get into it. So there's a podcast that I have not released yet with Mr. Nature. I've done a podcast with him in the past, but this is a new one, and I was live on 5 grams of psilocybin magic mushrooms, and I called Mr. Nature after I realized I was God. Finally. Um, I won't go into that right now, but he was just like, "Well done, you realize, yeah." And then I was like, "Can we record this conversation?" Because we was just like deconstructing the whole nature of reality. Uh, and he was like, "Yeah, cool." And then I thought, can we talk about Connor Murphy? And then so that will be out in the future. I haven't got access to my computer where that file is on at the moment, but watch out for that because that was a deep dive on, is Connor Murphy insane or is he not? And I'll give you the answer here now. Yes, but also no. And the reason I resonate so strongly is because I've also been on this path, and I feel like it's relevant now because recently I've been contemplating, like, maybe is there such thing as too many mushrooms? Because you used to hear me say in the past, I'm like, mushrooms seem to be like the holy grail for me. There doesn't seem to be, like, whenever I take them, they just increase my awareness, make me feel very godly, make me feel much more present, much stronger. Uh, Psilocybin always makes the image vibrant. So I think there is there's no doubt in my mind, right? And this is a conclusion I've come to recently with myself. Is I used to say, like, everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I think they're crazy, and vice versa. That's how it goes quite consistently with the path of awakening. Is you feel like you're losing your mind, and there's a distinction to be made. So I made a short about 3 months ago. Again, I was really getting into Connor Murphy, listening to all of his podcasts, and this is while I was going through some quite deep awakening, uh, and I still very much am. Um, and it was the distinction of, so you're crazy, but you accept it and you fall into it, and you will fall into what you are, as Duncan Trussell says. Um, or you're crazy and you're seeking help from the Western medical industry or some shit. So if you're on this path of awakening, I think that the most empowering thing for you to do, and I often suffer deeply, or I did back in the past before I made this distinction about 3 months ago, is that I now accept the psychosis uh, stuff, because if I try to medicate it and seek help, it just makes me feel like I start thinking all this shit, like maybe I am crazy, and but if you just accept it and basically somewhat double down, you just fall into it and just go, like, you finally make the distinction, like, do I need to seek help, or am I just enlightened but crazy at the same time? So this is very important for my channel right now. So I've been on YouTube for just over a year now, and I've been reflecting on some of my first videos when I was having, this is when my awakening journey, I remember this when it really started to sprout and rupture in many different dimensions. Like, first, it felt like I was blossoming into my actualized self. I was listening to a lot of actualized.org. I was doing loads of mushrooms like every week, some shit, doing a lot of breath work, changing my diet, awakening. Um, but then also and then it slipped off into like depression and things, and it was quite so in the midst of that, what I'm saying, and this is linked to Connor Murphy, it's like, oh, did he lose his mind or didn't he? And I got this because I did see a comment that says, "Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that Connor Murphy did lose his mind." But, and what I'm saying is, like, I wasn't really wrong ever. And even actualized.org, which Connor Murphy speaks about thoroughly, uh, says that there's a very fine. It's not just him that says it. He like says it from elsewhere, but there's particular segments where he's deep dived on it, and he basically says, like, there's a fine line or a non-existent line between insanity and enlightenment. Um, and I do think the fundamental nature of reality anyway is somewhat insane. Like where you're starting from, like just like I can't. Everyone just pretends that like we just like to play sanity because it makes you feel safe, I guess. But I don't think there's not much really sanity in reality. It's a bit. It just depends how much you think about it or how much you observe or like. Anyway, we'll get deeper into it. So what I was saying is like, so yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that I have now. Yeah, I've lost my mind. Okay. My friend says, he said to many people when they like judge me or criticize, he says, and I've come to this conclusion of many people, it's like, I'm crazy, I'm outlandish, I seem to have lost the plot, but I'm never really wrong. And if I am wrong, then we explore it together and mix perspectives, because my I'm not identified with my views egoically. Like I don't if some in light of some new truth emerges, uh, I don't it doesn't I don't attach to what I previously thought was the case. I progress forward into the light, into the truth, or I try to. I like to say that isn't. I'm sure it's the case with everybody to an extent. I guess it depends what how your ego is doing. So yeah, so me and Conor Murphy did lose our minds, I think. Uh, but it's also at the same time enlightenment, and you've got to understand it's very dependent on culture. So I know Terence McKenna speaks about this quite a bit, where it's so in our culture, if you have signs of schizophrenia or if you're slightly odd, basically like uh, I'll try and quote it the best I can. Um, so he says in traditional culture, which is like the shamans and stuff in the Amazon, where they drink the ayahuasca and there's no roads, there's no phonetic alphabets, there's no straight edges. Not like I think our culture and our civilization kind of is somewhat like it seems to be designed. I'm not saying it is the case, but I saw a reel and I resonated with it a lot on Instagram. It said like it's designed to disconnect you from your intuition, and I felt that so deeply my whole life. And I do. So we're getting into different cultures now, and we're going to be talking about how different cultures approach mental health. So and Conor Murphy, he even went to the psych ward and he went in there and he talked about how the food is like bread and fucking tinned soup and stuff. And our society is not very holistic. It seems like what I think, honestly, this is just what I think. So, um, and it's just a hypothetical thing, but it's like I think we're in like a confined grid that's purposely like we're not in the syndicate of real knowledge. And this is where the psychedelics kind of bring this stuff back up, which is potentially why they're illegal and because they're re-empowering. And I do think there are probably some. It's not. I think it's like I'm pretty confident that the whole and Conor Murphy talks about all of this stuff as well, which is why I really want to get him on there. Like he talks about the whole medical industry. He has a 2 hour documentary nearly about the full clinical insanity of Conor Murphy or escaping the cult of bodybuilding because he was a bodybuilder. He was like an ego, and then he took ayahuasca, and then he lost the plot. Um, from our perspective, so but that's coming from the Western culture, and he did lose the plot in terms of his house was a mess. Um, like he was fasting for 40 days, but it's very when you get into like the deep existential nature. Like my friend, for example, um, like he actually took his life, which I'll talk about in the future, and he was very into the spiritual stuff. He took it on 3.5 grams of magic mushrooms, um, and people are very like they kind of. It's just when you really get into the existential stuff that we're delving in here with spirituality and shit. It's like you can't really approach it from a sober Western mind anymore because when you really break it down, um, what's deemed as insanity. Like, for example, Conor Murphy talks a lot on cringe and insecurity. And he has a course that he released not long ago about breaking out of this cage. And basically, the way that I see it is we, as individuals, kind of we have insecurities, and basically the Western culture projects like self-hate and insecurity outwards that they've got from the rest of culture as well. So it's like a echo chamber. And so you're about in society, and people kind of shun you for doing certain things. You shouldn't dress like this. You shouldn't. Uh, there's many, and this is what Conor Murphy does a lot, is question cultural norms. And this is what I do. This is what the spiritual community do. We find our own truths. We don't just subscribe to the echo chamber of culture. Culture is not your friend, as Terence McKenna says. And we'll get back to him. So yeah, if you want to like judge like the spiritual people from your perspective, when you have no contemplation of death, existential questions, psychedelics or spirituality or nothing, no meditation, nothing, and you're projecting it from this like a cringe paradigm where like society's told you that you can't wear a dressing gown outside, or there's so many things. I made many things about this. Like I can't do breath work outside, like on a field, because people are like queasy about it. I can, and I do it anyway. If I'm on my phone outside, no one's got a fucking nothing to say about it. But if I'm out there with my shirt off, fucking doing some breath work on a cushion, in just mind my, I'm not in anyone's way. People project. If I walk barefoot, people are like, are you okay? You're not like. Someone commented on the video I just said that he was like, one of my favourite ones is when I'm just sat in nature and people ask me if I'm okay. And you'll be surprised, you'll be very surprised. People are concerned about the wrong things, where they want to, like, I don't know, it's just this weird like projection. I think our Western culture is quite like, I'm like very much opposite and of this culture, and I think a lot of our mental health, you and me, and in the past where we had depression, Conor Murphy had depression as well in the past, and I think a lot of it, like we tell ourselves as us, oh, society's like, what's wrong with you? It's not, you're in the first world, everything's fine, you got everything you need. When all the food's full of pollution, and you go to some indoctrination school system, and everyone just projects their self-hate onto everyone because no one wants to heal themselves, and they just run around distracting themselves. And so like a lot of your mental health, you may think it's you now, but as you go deeper down the awakening, you realize a lot of it is actually symptoms of culture. So what I was saying is like, oh, if everyone wants to project and say Conor Murphy's lost his mind from the paradigm of insecurity, and that paradigm is people act a certain way, they enforce the way that you should act, and then you pick it up. So because people tell you like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, and they tell you it's cringe, you adopt that paradigm as you're an ego trying to fit into the tribe. And then when you see others violating that code, you then project that onto them. But it's groundless. It's just hearsay, echo chamber. So with Terence distinguishing the cultures of so we have the traditional like there's the Western culture, which is us, the Babylon grid, concrete city built on so much complexity. We spray our food with poison, and then I don't know, then medicate it, and then what I was going to say is like, yeah, we I'm confident there are people who profit from us being in this grid. So like they bring about, and Conor Murphy again says the same things. It's just like they bring about problems, which is polluted food, and then they also sell us the solution. The solution. Inspector Veg speaks a lot about this, and so they're in like some syndicate of knowledge, and I reckon there are islands way out there that we don't know about, and they've got us in some confined fucking grid, and we're like a tax farm, maybe. But YouTube, don't delete me for fuck's sake. I'm just trying to seek truth, but I know that YouTube is directly connected with the World Health Organization and everything, so it's a bit mad. But anyway, so the way that Terence McKenna puts it is something along the lines of if one of these traditional cultures, which is the shaman, like the psychedelic, the indigenous cultures, or like the Eastern cultures, psychedelics, spiritual, intuitional, intentional, holistic communities, and then there's the Babylon grid that we live here. He says the way that the traditional cultures approach it is if you show signs of schizophrenia, you're immediately pulled out from the pack, and put under the care and tutelage of master shamans, and you are told you will heal, you will prophesize, you will lead in the most fundamental decisions for the tribe. And I've done interviews with people with mental health, and this has really opened my mind and made me realize that the mental health is really a label that you are prescribed by a culture. If someone wants to tell me I have bipolar, I'm just like, who are you? Who made this label? Like, I understand that there probably are real uses and practical uses for having these labels in this culture, but it's like what I think, and this goes into enlightenment again, or how people fool the symbol, which is the thought or the word or the concept, with the reality. So you watching this now, if you have a diagnosis, or anybody, is I think there are people out there, I'm confident, people get a prescription, autism, ADHD, and they actually think that this label actually exists. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but I don't know if they do really think about it. It's like it's completely constructed. Um, like you don't literally have ADHD. You know what I mean? You are you, and a lot of it is because you can't adapt the responsibilities of your culture. They'll tell you that you're sick. There's a quote. I don't know who the quote is, but it's really good. It was like, "It's no sign of maturity to be well adjusted to a sick culture." So that was Terence talking about the ayahuasca cultures. But if you have like schizophrenic tendencies, they see it as like somewhat of a gift. Like you can see, like fundamentally, you. It's just energy, and you're perceiving different stuff. And we can call it hallucination over here. But how do we not know that there's not really potential for you're seeing like different levels of energy, uh, different light. Like you may maybe just adjust it differently. So I'm very open to mental health now, and I feel like these people like I feel like we all have gifts. Like I don't think I think we can use a lot of these mental illnesses to our advantage if we change the way our culture is, or if they were in a different culture. Like I say, you can actually utilize these disorders. Again, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Who says it's a disorder? And who says it isn't caused by the refined sugar causing hyperactivity that we start our children on? Um, so yeah, it's quite so. I know I'm going off a bit, but so yeah, so our culture, we will put you in a loony bin. We won't go deep within your traumas. We don't. Psychedelics are just illegal. You can't even look at the hashtags on Instagram. Literally, magic mushrooms is just banned, uh, and you can barely research psychedelics. There's a renaissance happening right now, the mass awakening, the psychedelic renaissance, and the archaic revival is happening right now. Uh, and then yeah, and then they just put you in a loony bin or a mental hospital, and they just feed you bread, and it's like it's almost like, and when it gets into the awakening stuff, so this is how Conor Murphy sees it, I think, somewhat, and this is I was gonna make a video about this earlier, so uh, it's a game. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a bit off topic, but let's go. And Conor Murphy speaks the same. It's like this whole Babylon and how this place is so disconnected from my intuition, and um, I keep having to fill out forms and go to my 9 to 5 at the fucking co-op or whatever with the artificial lighting, and I'm a bin man, and it literally is funny to me how sick our culture is. It's fucking hilarious. So basically, me as a god, because I am the witness, the eternal witness. Whatever images there are in consciousness, there's always an awareness behind it, and this is very deep. Your identity is consciousness. It is not. if you believe that you are your name, my name is Baron. If I'm not Baron, I'm the awareness. So, and when you die or whatever, it's like, wow, I really believed I was somebody, and that's the whole game and the reason that you incarnate on purpose, because it's a story. It's yeah, and I remember Conor Murphy saying just this is it's like when you're born, it seems like a bunch of random shit, hodgepodge. Um, but as you progress, you come to realize that this is actually like a perfectly structured um, story, like a dream. Imagine if you died and you were looking at it from the outside. And I've contemplated this a lot while on magic mushrooms, and I listen to music that is actually about the contemplation of death. So I feel like I've gone quite deep on this. But it's so and then when I'm hearing Conor Murphy say that, I'm thinking, I know why he's saying that, because I'm God playing hide and seek with myself, and this video that I'm watching is just one facet of that, to leave the breadcrumb trails towards the awakening. Now, this isn't some like religious ideology. Honestly, there's a deeper unknowing beneath everything, but it's like, I do not believe this is a fluke, neither does Conor Murphy. And so, what this is your true nature, and actualized.org speaks of the same way, and this is just the awakening process across all cultures. Don't matter who the fuck you are, it just happens to people. And this is me being the consciousness, the only consciousness in experience as far as I'm aware. My true nature is infinite, complete, no boundaries, pure imagination. This reality now, it could have been any other way, any other dimension. That's your true nature as God, the Godhead, the infinite consciousness of there's not really like physical form. This is the limited realm. You incarnate into the limited realm because it's the gift of being able to bounce off of the walls and to be a finite being. Because what are you going to do? You can't just be God forever. You're bored. So if God is all powerful, does God have the power to deceive himself? Yes. So self-deception is a very important mechanism for you to fool yourself into a finite being, where you really do think you're just poor little old me running around in Babylon. Oh, what is this place? And then the psychedelics and breadcrumb trails that you've left for yourself because you're infinitely intelligent, and you go, you find these things, you keep awake, you talk to people, and then what's going to happen is there will be no loose ends in the end of your life and my life, because this is not a fluke. This is a perfectly intelligent incarnation, a story that you incarnated into intentionally to blow your own mind, to forget that you are God, and then to realize you are God because you are infinity. You are nothing and you are everything. You are nobody and you are everyone. You are pure consciousness of pure creation. I don't know why I told you that originally, but that's how Conor Murphy sees it as well. So yeah, so I think what's going to happen anyway is like there will literally be a mass awakening, and I think Conor Murphy said the goal was like worldwide orgy or some shit, and Terence McKenna says like the same thing. So what's going to happen, because I done this on purpose, because the universe is an infinite entertainment simulator, is Babylon will crash and burn, and humanity will ascend into the garden and the mountains on psychedelics in God consciousness, and we will all live with health and prosperity. And that is the reason I incarnated, because it is a dream come true. There's real suffering, but it's all pretend. Your life is a story that you believe in. You're a body with emotions. You can think if you want. You can regulate your emotions through your breath. You are utterly self-deceived if you are depressed. And that is true. Trust me. It's such a low level of consciousness. And when I see it on my friends, because I used to be very, very depressed, but now I've like understood. And there was ebbs and flows, and you forget, and then you remember. So right now I've remembered, but I'll forget again. I just come out of like a 2-week rut because I forgot. And then I remember. The cycle of creating and hating the shit I make. What was it? The cycle of remember, forgetting, now I'm awake. Oh, I wish my ego would permanently disintegrate. So yeah, is Conor Murphy fucking crazy? And Conor Murphy actually was very intentional about his strategy, I believe. So again, watch his full story, The Clinical Insanity of Conor Murphy, which I'll link below. But he intentionally, somewhat, like, he did lose his mind, there's no doubt to me. And so did I. And this is what I was saying in my old at the beginning when I was reflecting on my old content, is there's no doubt that I did lose my mind. But I don't think the distinction is actually real. Just as ADHD is not real, it's just like just a dualistic, like, you're crazy. Why am I crazy? It's just energy. Like, there's nothing to lose a grip with. You're just, and you actually don't really have a choice to lose your mind if you get into this path. This is what spirituality is, and if you really observe, like, all day, everything, all the time, you watch your thoughts, you watch how your body just does things for you, you watch how you barely have free will, like, you don't decide to decide and stuff like this. It's like, and if you really look at where you're starting from, like, it is insanity from the ground up. And one of the quotes I really like from Russell Brand is everyone says, "Oh, Russell Brand, you're insane," and he's like, "We've seen where sanity gets us. Look where sanity has got us. Maybe we need some insanity." Insanity is my preferred state. Mushrooms is my preferred state. Insanity is archaic, not so straight edge. Welcome to dystopia. You own nothing, we own ya. Book your jab or you are trapped. Fill out the form and download the app. That's sanity, apparently. So yeah, it's all deep. So Conor Murphy is not crazy. He is crazy, but so are you. We pretend we're not crazy because it's comfortable to many. I get a kick out of it, being insane. Traumatic has a lyric. Truth is true, truth hurts, so I just kill him with it. I'm not suffering from insanity, I'm enjoying every minute of it. He's got another lyric. And I got psychosis, I'm on some schizophrenic and psycho shit. There's microscopical microwaves in your microwaves and in your microchips. They're dangerous like guns and rifle clips and cystic fibrosis. My third eye shows me sacred visions, that's why I know this. And I've done a lot of research on the link between psychosis and spiritual awakening. And it's very deep. And I'm very interested when people lose their minds, because it's like, I don't know, but yeah. But yeah, our whole way our culture promotes mental health and insanity or whatever is completely backwards. And the reason why we have to enforce it, and why we're so, like, when you awaken, you'll realize the whole culture is extremely queasy and they want you to shut the fuck up quickly, because you threaten people's identity because of your ideas and your truths. Because everything is belief. Your life is an illusion. Really. I'm not joking. The vast majority of it. You don't understand how heavily self-deceived you really are. And even me. It's layers and layers. And as Terence says, I think people people are very queasy about questioning first principles, and I think it's because people are actually kind of scared. Their ego, their subconscious, it doesn't want to, like, question the fundamentals of your mind, because you understand that it's just a house of cards. The Western mind is a house of cards. It truly is. Terence also says, LSD is a psychoactive substance that occasionally causes psychosis in those who have not taken it. So yeah, I think that's it. Nearly half an hour now. Conor Murphy, please hit me up, and I'll have the video coming out with Mr. Nature very soon. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. I'm feeling really good recently. Hit me up. All my links are in the description. I got every social media in the history of the world. My name is Oxen, OXSN, or Truth Till I Die. And yeah, I'll do more videos on Conor Murphy. I'll make a playlist as well, which I'll link below, on all of my stuff about Conor Murphy. And I'll make a playlist on videos that you must watch by Conor Murphy as well. So thank you very much, everybody. I love you, and stay good. Self-love is key. Meditate. Honestly, please meditate. If you're not meditating, you're wasting your fucking time. See you later.